Okay, I just wanted to share 4 readings I did for myself within a period of 2 days. Well, the reason I wanted to share it was because of not just to share the readings, but because of the connection they have to each other. They all shared an interesting symmetry and common theme. Also, the question or statement of intention preceding each reading are connected. What I want to point out before I show you the cards from each is that the center card, they're all a 3-card spread. I specifically did this with Robert Place's 3-card message in mind. You should look him up. The center card of each reading is surmounted by 2 like cards. Now, in most cases, that means a trump in the middle, and at each side are 2 pips, or I think in one case 2 courts, and in another case the center was a pip surrounded by 2 courts. Also in each, wherever there are 2 pips, they are numerically consecutive. They are sometimes of different suits, but numerically consecutive. Now, what I was seeking in the cards at the time became, in retrospect at least, almost secondary to this pattern that emerged, and just having seen it caused me to think more in depth about the relationship between all 4 readings, not just between the 3 cards in each spread. So let me show you the first one, and this was just a few days ago too. Okay, keep in mind with 3-card spreads, you should pay attention to the story that emerges immediately, the one that you intuit immediately, rather than deciding ahead of time how you're going to read it. Linear, left to right, or right to left. They can be seen that way, of course, but you should keep it equal importance, just whatever hits you intuitively. And the one that happened here in this first one is going from right to left, and I will explain. 8 of Chalices. I used the Thoth deck, by the way. That's my favorite deck. 8 of Chalices, or Indolence. Then the Emperor, who faces away from the 8 of Chalices towards the next, which is the 9 of Chalices. Here, Happiness. This was for advice about my next employment, because I have been... At first I was just thinking about it, now I'm actively pursuing it. I know that I need to get out, far away from the corporate atmosphere, and work with the natural world. So I'm not going to explain what exactly I saw in each. That might get a bit too personal. I did want to share this for the sake of the pattern, which I've already explained. In Robert Place's book, The Tarot, History, Symbolism, and Divination, I should say Robert M. Place, his full name, he suggests that if a message is not entirely clear, or if you see something basic but could use a little bit of elaboration, use 3 more cards in relation to the central card, and to keep in mind that one of the 3, usually or most often the center card, will act as kind of like the verb in a sentence. And you can see that's the case. I did ask for some elaboration. So the secondary row of cards we'll look at here. This one also to be read right to left. I'll explain this too. 9 of Swords, Cruelty. And the Queen of Wands and the 8 of Wands, Swiftness. Okay, now look at all 6 cards together, both of those fiery center cards. Unlike the Emperor, Queen of Wands doesn't look away from the right card, but shows neither card at the sides any kind of favor. And I see an ultimately positive reading. I'll just say the Nine of Swords relates to the present situation, and that transformative power of the Eight of Wands is the ultimate result. Kind of the same story being told in the first row of 3 cards, looking from one to the other. One leads to the other. So you see the numerically consecutive cards at the sides in both cases, both of them centered by a human figure, who is the one who shows the direction of all 3. And we see the same thing in the second reading we'll look at now. There is, again, the Eight of Wands, or swiftness, centered by the Chariot. And then we have the Seven of Discs, which here in the tarot is named Failure. This reading was for advice about where I will next live, assuming it to be near where I will next work, because I'm entirely open to leaving even my city and state for this next work that I need to be doing, whatever it is. Again, ultimately positive reading. Right to left, not necessarily because I wanted to see order triumph over chaos, so to speak, rather than the obvious reverse, but because I already know that failure is an accurate representation of the present, which is why I'm seeking a new place to live and work in the first place. Again, note the repetition of the Eight of Wands, or swiftness, as well as the numerically consecutive 7 and 8. And again, a centered human figure in the Chariot. Okay, now I felt at this point that if I continued using the Thoth deck, I would half expect to be looking for this emerging pattern, you know, and that if I did not see it again, the subsequent disappointment could very well color or taint my interpretation of whatever I'd see next in the cards. So I used next Robert Place's own Alchemical Tarot. And the essence of the question or statement of intention was, what do I need to know about working with tarot? Now, this was the first that is not read in any kind of linear way. The story emerges all at once from all 3. Again, look at this beautiful symmetry here. Knight of Swords, then Eight of Swords at the center, and the Lady of Coins, or also known as Princess of Discs. Okay, I mean, what I found so intriguing about this one is that despite my reasoning for switching decks, I here saw the same pattern, but reversed. The knight and lady are experiencing victory and beauty in tandem as they look away from the depressive and isolated trappings of the center card, the Eight of Swords. The 2 side cards here provide the balance of a positive overview of my workings with tarot. This reading inspired my next question or statement of intention for a 4th reading. Particularly that knight, look at him, who has identified evil and intends to destroy it. Though the card also suggests a warning to make sure that the perceived evil is not exaggerated or entirely in the imagination. And for the same reasons and possible half expectation of looking for that pattern, and rather just wanting a reading, I used the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. This is most definitely read left to right. Ace of Wands, the world, the sun. And the essence of intention here was, I seek advice on working only with positive forces and influences in my use of tarot. Now, just to clarify, I do not mean, hey, please contrive to only show me positive things about myself and others or the world or the future. I was considering, the actual world of spirituality, energy, and psychic force involved. Seeing these particular cards, I was initially worried that somehow I had not shuffled thoroughly enough, even though I did. But, the reason being that each of these appear so close to one another in their proper order in the deck. Or at least in the way I typically order my cards, which is trumps, then all four aces, then each respective suit, wands, chalices, swords, discs, the court cards placed at the front of each. But these three, tarot users know, generally found pretty close together in the deck. And, I wanted clarification of that, other than what the cards showed me here. So I flipped through the remainder of the deck before I went looking to do any kind of interpretation. I flipped through the remainder and saw all the cards were about as mixed up as could be. And, I'd known that I'd shuffled for a while, so this was all the confirmation I needed, that I did indeed shuffle it well. And what I further learned, I had to realize here that I should never be trepidatious about seeing this kind of thing. Just because cards appear near enough together after shuffling as to how they do in standard order doesn't mean it should be second guessed. If you shuffled it well enough. We don't have to see cards otherwise separated from one another. Anyways, in this reading, look at this. That's my hand. I am firmly holding the idea or seed or root of fire in my hand, a creative spark, if you will. The hand and wand are extended out toward the next card at the left, the world, and the woman in that card looks also toward the left at the sun, which looks directly ahead. The world representing the totality of the cosmos and its inherent secrets is like the verb in the sentence that I was talking about. Now, Robert M. Place describes this card thusly: the rapture of the universe when it understands itself in God. Okay, and Arthur Waite says of this card, I have taken the cards on the high plane of their more direct significance to man, who in material life is on the quest of eternal things. Well, that's exactly what I asked for. That's all anybody could hope for from tarot. Robert M. Place says of, let me find it here. Okay, he says of the Sun card, the final one of this reading, the card signifies the transit from the manifest light of this world to the light of the world to come. It is typified by the heart of a child. So, okay, this reading breaks the pattern, but it's probably more powerful and almost even in your face about its answer, and I love that. I probably needed to hear that. Two of the end trumps with the Ace of Wands, a beginning in itself at the beginning of this reading, giving birth to the world or universe, depending on your deck. And the world in turn giving birth to everything implied in the sun. I'm going to let the stories themselves and inferences just remain obvious to those of you who read cards. I wanted to share, again, more than anything, the pattern. Just still kind of amazed with it and had to post it. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.